Okay, all right, guys. So I'm going to get started. As people join in, I'll just give them access. But happy Tuesday. I am glad that you all are here. Write me in the chat if you're having trouble joining Pear Deck or anything like that. I'll be recording these videos and uploading them to my YouTube channel, and I'll post it in Google Classroom, and I'll post it in Schoology as well. Okay, let's go. So this is our first presentation for week 12, and I just want to go over just some daily routines to help you all out. So as you're at home every day, make sure you sign into Schoology and check in at each of your classes. They should have some type of attendance there. On my class, you can go to Schoology or Google Classroom, but I have a Google form where you just write your first and last name, and that's how I'll be taking attendance. And after you do that, make sure you go to Google Classroom, check your stream, and you can check your grades under Classroom and then click on View Your Work. That's how you can check your grades. I will be trying to grade much faster now that I only have to do face-to-face instruction on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But if you have any questions about your grades in the interim, don't hesitate to write me in Schoology or Google Classroom. And then lastly, number 3 is under classwork in Google Classroom, check the week folders for videos, presentations, and assignments. So right now we're in week 12, and each week has the dates next to it. And by the way, if you just joined, we are in Pear Deck. There's a link in the chat room, and our code is FWMCN. All right, let's go. Okay, so first I want to do a quick stress check with everyone just to see how we're doing. You should be able to slide the purple bar across the page just to rate how you're feeling. Welcome. We're in in Pear Deck, and the code is FWMCM, and there should also be a link for you to join in the chat room. Okay, let's see what people are saying about their stress check. All right, so it seems like we're kind of spread out right now. But I would like to say for anyone who's feeling extremely stressed out right now, really, really give yourself some grace and time to adapt to this new online format. It's new for everyone, and new things can be really stressful. But next week is spring break, and so that should give you some time to acclimate. Teachers shouldn't be adding assignments during that time, but just let your teachers know if you're struggling. And if you're really, really having trouble with your emotions and such, I believe that you are able to, write people from the school and like let them know if there's any specific issues that we can help with. And I would say for myself, I'm somewhere hovering around a 4 or 5. This is a lot to adapt to, but we are adaptable, so we can definitely do it. But as each day goes by, I hope that it gets better for everyone. Okay, but now that we've talked about our stress, I would like to know, let me go over here. What's something bright in your life? What's something that you are thankful for? What's something that you are thankful for, something that's bright in your life right now? I see some coming up. I'll share them in about 20 seconds. All right, let's see what our responses are. So someone is happy that spring break is coming. Ooh, I understand that. Someone's thankful that they can spend more time with their family. That is so great. Such a blessing. I'm so glad for you. Someone's thankful for being able to wake up every morning. Yes, it is wonderful. And if you do have another class to attend to, you can go and do that. Like I said, I record these, so you can always go back and look at it. It'll be posted in Google Classroom. Um, Someone said naps and snacks. Good. Someone said they're thankful they get to spend time with their family and get more sleep. Sleep is so good. Someone's getting to spend more time with their sisters. Oh, that's awesome. I love the happy face. I miss seeing all of your art, so I'm glad that you're able to draw on here. Well, I'm glad we all have something bright in our lives, even though we do have some stress. And just hopefully that we'll just have more bright times and when we get back together again, it'll be a very joyous occasion. All right, guys, let's look at our agenda for the day. So, what we are learning today, we are going to learn how DNA is transcribed to RNA and how RNA is translated to create proteins and why that is important. We're going to learn what proteins are, what do they do. We want to know what causes sickle cell disease. We're going to learn about that. And we're going to learn this by taking notes on the presentation in Google Slides. Like I said, this will be a quick session. Our sessions are only 30 minutes, so you may not have time to take notes, but I'll put the slides up and I'll put this video up so that you can take some thorough notes later on. You're also going to learn this by reading articles and watching videos and using simulations in labexchange.org. And then you're going to show that you've learned it by answering questions in the assignment on labexchange.org and then watching an Edpuzzle video and answering the quiz questions there. Okay, so before we dive in, I want to know what you know. So what do you already know and what do you wonder about DNA and proteins? What do you already know and what do you wonder about those? All right, let's see what we're seeing so far. So someone said they know that DNA is like genes and proteins are. We're not so sure yet, maybe. They know that DNA stands for, oh, you almost had it, the deoxy. I liked seeing that, whoever was writing it. Next, someone says in most human cells, there's a structure called the nucleus. Yes, and that is where the DNA is found. Okay, good. We do remember some things about DNA, and proteins are coded for maybe by DNA. What people are writing. This is good so far. All right, so we have somewhat of a foundation. So we're going to do some review and look a bit deeper into DNA and proteins in this next week or so, because our lovely friend Anna Garcia has a genetic disorder or a disease that's caused by her genes. And we're going to learn about how that could possibly happen. Okay. So I have a video here that is called From DNA to Protein. I am going to hopefully play this, but I might have to put it on mute because I think sound from the computer sounds weird on Zoom. So just want to fix that. And then I'm going to describe it. It works. Here is a cell. Okay, so basically this video is really going over what a human cell looks like. So if you remember, these things here are called organelles that you see them showing. in this video here, and they're going right into the nucleus, like someone talked about. So you have the chromosomes inside of your nucleus, which is a very, very long strand of DNA, and it's around these proteins called histones. So a chromosome is DNA, but it's DNA that's really, really tightly wrapped up. And then DNA has genes. Genes are a section of DNA that has instructions to make something, specifically making proteins. So if a gene, which is that section of DNA, if it gets turned on, it can get transcribed by something called RNA polymerase. That's this big brown thing here. And it makes a copy of the DNA for that specific gene. And it has a U instead of having a T. Remember that RNA has U's instead of a T, and it's only one strand. So now this is messenger RNA. We usually call it mRNA. And that mRNA gets processed before it leaves. And so some parts of it is not important for making the protein. So some parts of it get cut out. And then the messenger RNA leaves the nucleus. RNA leaves the nucleus. DNA does not leave the nucleus, which is why we had to make this messenger RNA so that it could leave. And then now this new brown thing here is called a ribosome, which is found outside, right outside of the nucleus in the cytoplasm. And ribosomes are used to make proteins from mRNA. This here is called tRNA, and tRNA has amino acids, which we learned about before. Amino acids join together to make like a ball and string thing, which what we call a protein. You have a long stretch of amino acids that make proteins. And the tRNA reads your mRNA in sets of threes. And this is called the genetic code. We'll actually do more with the genetic code later. And so now you see this protein is getting made on this ribosome as it's reading the mRNA. So we went from DNA to mRNA to making a protein, which folds. And then this protein is like a little machine that does something. So you have thousands of proteins in your body, and all these proteins do different things. And so that's just a quick video overview of how to go from DNA to protein. And I know that was really fast, but we're going to talk about that quite a bit more over the course of these lessons. And you write me in the chat room if you have a question. So just to go over this one more time so you can see. So let's say we have DNA here that is in your nucleus. Can I like draw on this? Ooh, I can. So here we have your DNA right here. And then through a process called transcription, this is transcription right here, you get to make RNA. So with transcription, RNA is made. So this right here is RNA. It's only one strand, not two strands like DNA. So then you make RNA, and the RNA gets cut like you saw in that video. It's called RNA splicing, so that you only have the important parts to make a protein. And then that mRNA then leaves the nucleus and it goes into the cytoplasm. This section here is the cytoplasm. And then through a process called translation, right here, translation, you are able to make a protein from mRNA. Remember in the video, it showed the tRNA that carries these amino acids. This is an amino acid, this is a different amino acid, and they make this ball and string like type of chain, but then it folds up to become a protein that's able to do a job. So this is how it happens in eukaryotic cells. This word eukaryotic, well, you can't really see that underline, but eukaryotic, these are the cells of animals. Prokaryotic cells are from animals. Eukaryotic is for animals and plants, and prokaryotes are things like bacteria. But we'll talk about that at another time. Okay, he should be calling. Is this working? Oh, I need to change this. Okay, let's move on. Well, I need to erase my stuff, all my drawings. All right, so what I want you to do on your screen is I want you to organize all of this into the correct order. So you should see the word protein on your screen. You should see mRNA, DNA, transcription, and translation. And what I want you to do is use those numbers on your screen to put them in order. So if protein is number one, you put protein there. You put number one there. And if translation is number one, then you would put number one over translation. So you're just putting these 5 numbers you see on your screen in the correct places. I just want to make sure that we caught on to the steps. Okay. And by the way, if anyone needs the code, it's FWMCM if you're just signing in. All right, let's see what we have. Our responses. Okay, I see a number one wandering around somewhere. So I have a number one over here on DNA, and then I also have one over here on transcription. And I think you have the right idea, but we do start off with DNA. DNA is the first step. So we start off with DNA. And then through a process called transcription, which is where we should have our number two. So transcription is the process to make mRNA, which we have over here for number 3. Good job, guys. So mRNA is made through a process called transcription from DNA. Then mRNA, through a process called translation, is next. So I know you guys are getting that we get protein, but you have to go through the process of translation, then to end up with protein. We'll do this slide again on Thursday to see how well we remember this. But this is called the central dogma of molecular biology. So this means that everything that is done with DNA in all of biology, in all organisms, it follows these steps. All organisms function like this. All organisms have DNA so that they can transcribe the DNA into RNA, and an RNA is then translated into protein. This is beautiful. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is what your body is doing 24/7, ever since you were born, before you were born, when you were in your mother's womb. This process was happening over and over and over again to make us functional humans. Okay, let's then talk about protein synthesis one more time, but I want you to know that DNA also makes some other types of RNA, which you might have seen. So the first thing, we have genes that make mRNA, and then mRNA makes proteins, which also can be called a polypeptide. That's another name for a string of amino acids. It's called a polypeptide. But then we have a gene that makes rRNA, regulatory RNA. And rRNA, this is part of, let me see if I can actually write well. I'm not as good as drawing on the screen like you guys are. So rRNA is part of ribosomes. So remember, the ribosome was important for translation, and rRNA is part of ribosomes, and it helps with translations. All right. And then we learned about tRNA. So tRNA is also made from a specific gene for tRNA, and tRNA is what carries those amino acids. Remember, it was like this little ball of an amino acid that was attached to each tRNA, and then the tRNA was able to read the part of the mRNA and to make the amino acid. But you guys will see some of this in the assignment that I gave you in Lab Exchange, and we'll go over it some more as well. All right, let's go next. Oh, I think I have to erase that, don't I? Okay, so when I keep talking about proteins, usually we only hear about protein when someone's talking about food, or if they're trying to build muscle. They're like, oh, I need to eat more protein so that I can get muscles. But proteins truly are a group of molecules that do almost all of the work in your body. So you see, if you see the link at the top of this page, you can click on that and it's going to take you to a website that talks about proteins. And I'll click on that soon. But I do want to go over the different types of proteins. So we have enzymes, structural proteins, signaling proteins, regulatory proteins, transport proteins, sensory proteins, motor proteins, defense proteins, and storage proteins. These are like 9 major categories. And I just want you to understand that proteins are a whole bunch of molecules that do lots and lots of jobs in our body. And you guys already know about some proteins already. So let's look at a couple. So if anyone's ever seen a firefly, there's a protein that makes fireflies glow. Glow. I was going to say grow. It makes them glow. And then there's DNA polymerase and RNA polymerase, which are important for copying DNA or making DNA into RNA. And then lactose is a protein. You know, when people say, "Oh, I'm lactose," or I'm lactose intolerant. Lactose is an enzyme that allows our bodies to break down sugar that's found in milk. And if you are lactose intolerant, you don't make a lot of this protein, which means you're not able to break down a lot of the sugar that is found in milk. That's what lactose intolerance comes from. But enzymes are molecules that help processes happen quickly. They help chemical reactions happen fast. That's what enzymes do. Then you have some structural proteins, which do exactly what it sounds like. They give our bodies structure. So, like silk, that comes from silkworms, like the fibroin is a protein for that. We have collagen, which we know about. You have that in your bodies, which is a structural protein as well. You have a protein that's made from spiders to make spider webs and such. They bring strength and structure in the body. And then signaling proteins. If you guys have ever heard of fight or flight, we keep talking about adrenaline. Adrenaline is a protein. Signaling proteins tells your body to do things. So if you see a tiger or a lion chasing you, adrenaline gets released to tell your body that it needs to give all of its resources into making you run fast so that you can survive. So it makes your heart beat faster. It makes more blood be sent to your muscles so that you can run faster. It gives you glucose so that you don't run out of energy. We all know insulin very well. Insulin is a protein. It's a signaling protein. So I'm not going to go through all of these, but I do want you to check this website out. We're going to look at proteins a bit more later, but I really, really want you to understand that proteins do jobs. They do work, and there's many, many different types. Okay, let's go back here. And I know we have to end soon. So I just want you to know that we're talking about sickle cell anemia. And this is something that's caused by hemoglobin, which is a protein found in your red blood cells that binds oxygen. And hemoglobin normally looks like this. It's usually folded in this shape, and it makes your red blood cells have this like pretty almost donut shape. But in sickle cell, there is a mutation in the DNA that causes hemoglobin to clump up, like you see right here. And then it makes the blood cell then take this weird shape that looks like a crescent moon that then clogs the blood vessels. And it can form clots and blockages and a whole bunch of pain in sickle cell crises. And this all happens just because of one change, one nucleic acid change in DNA. So this thymine becomes an adenine. And because of that, it changes the mRNA. And because the mRNA got changed, then this amino acid gets changed. So it's a chain reaction. And when that one amino acid changes, it makes the protein behave differently. It doesn't fold correctly. And then you get these red blood cells that have this shape and brings lots and lots of issues in the body. So we'll go over this a bit more, but I just want to make sure you know your assignments. So you have this lab exchange pathway assignment that I mentioned before, and That is found in labexchange.org. You should see it in Google Classroom. When you go to labexchange.org, you should click on classes. And if you have not joined yet, these are the class codes right here. This is the class code for period 1, and this is a class code for period 6. If you need to join and it's not letting you, please write me because I'll give you access. And then you have an Ed puzzle assignment as well. And I believe that is all for the day. Thank you guys for coming online and being so studious and listening. And I hope to see you again on Thursday.